My name is Sue Belagodu. I'm a founding member at Sidebar, and I host their speaker series with other amazing people. One of them is on the call today, Kim. Outside of that, I'm a managing partner of a company called Intellectus Advisors. I help AI startups scale. I myself was a co-founder, very soon figured that building is getting easier, but scaling is going to be challenging. And so I jumped on that bandwagon. I live in the Boston area, so I'm really excited to see folks from the West Coast here. So I want to talk to you a little bit about Sidebar before I introduce our guests. Sidebar is a career progression platform. It's so much more than what it was when it started. It was for you to meet your peers, for senior executives, and connect and network and learn collectively. And now it's elevated to so much more than that. You have the speaker series, you have one-on-one warm connections. So if you are a lonely exec or don't find the time to connect with folks outside of your industry, then you should definitely consider Sidebar. Today, we have Ash with us. Ash Kumra, thank you so much for joining us. Ash is a community builder. He's an AI strategist and an entrepreneur. He currently leads community for Lightfield, a CRM reimagined for AI native companies. So I should get on there, Ash. I hope you have something for us where we can get involved. Ash is also an expert community builder. He built the AI collective to 150,000 members. Like that's insane. Ash, welcome to Sidebar Speaker Series. And please tell us a little bit more about yourself before we jump into today's topic.
Happy to. And two quick things. One is, yes, I definitely would love to offer everyone a several months of using Lightfield for free. So I got everyone there. And then regarding the AI Collective, I just wanted to clarify, I was part of the leadership team. I didn't build it 150K myself. I was honored to be part of the team, and it's a very large movement. It's the largest AI movement in the world. There's over 150,000 members, like you mentioned, and there's a team of about 300 plus people. But yeah, I had a small part, but it was a big impact. Actually, it taught me a lot about community building, which is why I'm kind of overhyping AI Collective. It's a something that's near and dear to my heart. But yeah, I'm happy to be here, and let's dive in.
Welcome, Ash. All right. So the big question, right? I want to start with what I asked everybody else. What is your quick take on what is the most coveted skill to excel in the age of AI? I'm not asking you to give away everything, but your one word for that. What do you think? Ash, sorry, that was for you.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about the right way to say this. I think the one thing is taste,
Mm,
because here's the thing. We now live in a world where AI tools, AI groups, AI professionals are prevalent. I mean, you yourself help AI startups and other successful businesses. I'm assuming there's other people here that work in some sphere. I think what makes you stand out is unique taste. I think V1 of AI was like, okay, I'm going to use Claude or ChatGPT to like post answers that I feel. But now people can sense when things are like AI generated. But if you can add your own flair to things where you're like, look, from a perspective of a designer now using AI, people will see your work differently than if you're just like prompting, hey, give me an answer. And I think taste applies to everything now. No matter how many things get replaced, no matter how many things get automated, no matter how many things are becoming more easy for you to use, the thing that makes you stand out is your unique taste and being cultured. And cultured means having some unique experiences that can bring a different conversation to the table, which also plays to how you stand out and build your community, which I know we're going to talk about in a little bit.
yeah. I mean, damn those M dashes. I realized I was using them to write that way even before AI picked it up. And now everyone's like, oh, there's an M dash, so this must be AI slop. But
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I love that answer. To flip the question a little bit. What do you see as the biggest mismatch between what leaders think AI will replace and what AI will actually replace, say in the next 24 months?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, not to plug my own company that I'm working for right now too much, but this is actually why I joined this company. So, it's helpful for this answer. So Lightfield, like you mentioned, it's an AI native CRM. And the reason why it is needed is because I don't know about you all, but I there are times when I have so much data that I need to ingest, typing manually, gathering, being like a data hygienist, as I would call it. And it takes away my time to actually build meaningful connections. It takes the time to actually think about what are some thoughtful reports or what are some follow-up actions instead of doing all this input work. So this automates a lot of that. It takes all the data, it goes through your emails, it goes through all your uncharted conversations. It goes through your email history, your conversations. It actually, even on this call, there's a recording thing, so it'll record and actually not just record because there's a lot of tools that record, but it actually gives you next steps to on follow-up items, which is kind of unique. I'm bringing this up because this isn't replacing anyone who is doing sales or pipeline generation or go to market. It's making your life easier so you can focus on the things that matter. So, what I'm trying to gather is that if you're an executive and you're looking at AI, don't look at it as a replacement of people. Look at it as a enhancement for allowing you, if you as an executive or your team members that work under you or work with you, to be able to do the things that matter more meaningfully. And if I want to go back as to kind of why I'm so confident in talking like this, I actually go back to Star Trek. I'm a big Star Trek person and I grew up with all the Star Treks, but like many people my age range, The Next Generation was my favorite. And why I bring this up is because as a kid, I used to watch Star Trek Next Generation and they would have these conversations about what's the purpose of, computers and technology and automation, and it allowed people to do the things that mattered. And then a lot of the tasks that are mundane or tiresome could now be done with disruptive technology. And I feel like with current AI tools, we're in that same revolution, and it's definitely going to improve in the next 24 months. It's gangbusters what happens every week. It's just mind-boggling.
It is. I think you brought up a really, I mean, you mentioned a lot of good points. The one thing that stuck with me is that leaders have to identify what is important and what can be automated. And that's a framework for them to think through because this definitely is a top-down approach. And how you embed AI in your workflows and your and how do you kind of empower people that work for you. How have you seen that kind of play out, either with the AI collective and now I know Lightfield is still new, but how have you seen that play out? What are those conversations like with executives?
Yeah, I have seen people now have more time to okay, I'm going to take a step back. I've been thinking a lot about this even prior to this conversation. If I had to tell you one 2026 theme, it's that now AI is being looked at from a how does this actually make you more productive? I think the shiny object phase that I think initially happened, where you have to be AI enabled or you have to build AI products, which I felt was more 2024 and parts of 2025, I think that's gone now. I think people are now educated enough where they get the possibilities of AI. This conversation, there's no point in me telling you AI is going to change your life. AI is here to stay. I think it's safe to say that everyone in this conversation agrees with that. I think the conversation of will AI enhance or change the way people do jobs, I think it's safe to say that. I think now this conversation, what is important is how will AI make me more productive? I think productivity is what you need to now look at. So whether it's Lightfield or whether it's tools like Notion or whether it's AI content capturing tools, like there's a tool I've become obsessed with called Higgsfield. I have no affiliation with them. I just love what they're doing. And then these tools are now creating the ability for you to be more productive. Productivity is the new driver. And I feel that If you look at a lot of these macroeconomic reports or at macroeconomic discussions on the CNBCs or the business pundits, they are now talking about the economy and productivity. So I think that's the key factor now is how is this going to make me or my team or individuals I collaborate with more productive? That's how you should look at AI now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We have a really good question from Kim who says, how is productivity being defined in 2026 in relationship to AI? Or how would executives even measure it? Or how would you measure your productivity?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kim. I think the way I would view it is, and this is like a very it's not a one answer for all. It's my perspective. I think it depends on what you do for a living or what you're interested in. But for what it's worth, are you able to do the things that you're actually like that are meaningful to you or you're actually really good at? And can AI take away the tasks that you're not really wanting to do or can take burn out your energy? And I go back to my earlier example of Lightfield. The reason why I believe in Lightfield and other AI productivity type of products, especially Notion. I'll just use Notion since I've been self-promoting Lightfield to a degree. I love Notion because Notion can do different things that would normally take me hours to do that I can get done in like minutes. It can make my reports better. It using their AI LLM tools, it can like make the content sound more crisp. It can be written for a specific audience. It can come and be in a very nice presentable format. You can integrate images. You can share it as a PDF. You can make marketing collateral. I could literally do this in like 10 minutes and it would normally take me 2 hours. So now I have, like I say, an extra hour and a half of time. What can I do at that time? I can do conversations like this. I love doing meaningful conversations where I can contribute and be part of good conversations and meet new community people. But if I was bogged down with that 2 hours of work, I wouldn't be able to do this project or this conversation as an example.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the number of times we've all said in our lives, I wish there were more hours in a day. And now it seems like with all of these tools, you can have more hours in a day where you invest, you know.
And if I can add to that, another thing we haven't yet talked about, but we can, is the use of agents is like a whole new level now. So I've had the pleasure of building relationship with a company called GenSpark. And again, I have no affiliation with them, just a disclaimer. I'm just a friend of the founders and I've used their product personally. GenSpark's a great product. It can let you do like 5 tasks at once. So it can literally you can use this product called GenSpark. It can you could actually say, I have a PowerPoint proposal. Here's my audience. Here's the demo. Here's the data. Here's the documentation. Here's some sites to look at, all in like one prompt or one action. And it could like generate this amazing presentation for you. And what GenSpark does is that it goes on top of the different LLM. So it will like look at the top LLM text to help create it. So it's using the best of the best tools. That whole conversation I just gave you could take a whole day if you're someone creating a documentation or you have to do a presentation. It can literally do it in 20, 30 minutes. And that's
Mhm.
being very conservative. Sometimes it can take 5 to 10 minutes. Another example, I'm a big fan of there's a finance podcast, this guy called Scott Galloway. And Professor Galloway, when he talks about like AI, someone asked him this question once. He's like, I'm a marketing analyst. I work for Gartner. How can I use AI to make me better and not take away my job? And he's like, well, if you can use AI tools to help review reports, help coming up with recommended analysis, of course you got to review it because not AI, like anything, has errors. It could save you hours and hours, and you can be more productive and focus on bigger picture things for your job and let more of the detail work be done with these AI tools.
Mhm.
There's so many other examples. I mean, you talk about the legal profession. I mean, there's paralegals now that are using it to review cases and review facts and come up with analysis. I mean, it's insane what's going to happen. And so I encourage anyone here looking at AI from that kind of standpoint on how could it make me save time for me to do more meaningful work and less about the mundane work.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for those references. We'll go check them out. Um, a little while ago, we were talking about what are some of those things that AI cannot replace. And
Mhm.
I think you mentioned community,
Mhm.
and building and being part of a community. There are, community-driven growth is one of the biggest levers right now. And I often wonder, how do you measure ROI of a community? Because it doesn't show up on a spreadsheet. So, what do you think about that as someone who's built communities? How do you measure that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, alongside AI and tools is there is this is the year of community, and I really mean that. I genuinely feel that you're seeing more and more communities. Now we can go into online and offline. I'm happy to dive into that, but let's just talk about community for this part, and then we can go into that. Communities are needed because people are embracing either their own unique interest, special interests, like hobbies,
Mhm.
like you could be a designer, or their specialized skill set, which could be, executives and leaders, which is what I feel Sidebar is, or it could be more tactical, like go-to-market communities, or it could be on deeper lifelong passions and pursuits, which is why the AI collective has been able to grow so fast. And I've noticed that it's never going to be oversaturated because every person has a unique conversation and every group of people have a unique group of interests and talents. And so, as long as that happens, you're going to see more and more communities proliferate. And that's something that AI will never replace. Yeah, AI could create a framework. Like I've used AI to help me come up with a Slack community group for an initiative I'm working on, or how to sell a community's programs better, give me some insights. But the actual building of the community, nurturing it, selecting people, maintaining it, putting on these unique conversations, these are things that I don't feel AI will replace and will not need to replace. I think this has its own value, and that's the ultimate play with building community or being a part of a community or helping grow a community.
I remember you called it the human edge, right?
Mhm.
The ability to build and curate a community. Being part of these communities, what do you think is the biggest blind spot most people, professionals, have when it comes to leveraging community for their growth? It could be career acceleration or growing your business, or
Yeah.
just to grow your network. What are some of the biggest blind spots?
Several things. This is a really good question. One is, I think a blind spot is you treat it as like a distribution channel instead of a feedback loop. So I think a common thing is I'm going to join this community thinking, how do I get my product or my own name or my own ideas in front of these people? When the real value is, what can I learn about what matters to these people before I build anything?
Mhm.
Um, I feel that the professionals and members who are part of communities that actually get value are people who accelerate, you know, of identifying problems worth solving, asking meaningful questions, being vulnerable, like, hey, I am not happy with my job, or I'm having this conflict, or I don't know what to do. I'm managing being a parent and being a busy executive, or should I join this startup or should I take this offer, or I'm looking on the market right now. These are all vulnerable things. And I think the more honest, and you don't have to talk about all those things. I'm just giving you levels of vulnerability. But I feel now the more vulnerable you can be, and also the more real you can be with your perspective, the more you're not going to get value, but the more respected you're going to get. That's the other thing. And the other thing too is it's kind of like compounding. You always hear about, I think Warren Buffett said compounding is like the eighth wonder of the world, or Einstein said that, I'm sorry, the eighth wonder of the world. Do the same thing with community. Don't just join a community and be like checking in once a week or once a month. Like be active, like comments, comment on things. A great example of this is if you look at the top LinkedIn contributors. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I could be a little more active. I've been a little I've been a little busy offline building community, to be very candid. But when I want to go back on LinkedIn or if I want to learn from them, it's
Hmm.
doing all these things that I just said, the vulnerability, commenting, sharing, being proactive. And then the LinkedIn algorithm naturally gets you more traction. And this is on what LinkedIn says, not my own. It's not like me or some pundit saying this.
Yeah.
Same concept of community groups.
Hmm. Hmm. You said you yourself are busy with building offline,
Mhm.
in-person communities. How do you go about building an offline community to kind of grow your business again, or accelerate your career versus a virtual online community? Are there different rules of engagement? What have you seen work? How can people best utilize the kind of community that they're a part of?
Yes, this is I really like your questions. These are really good, thoughtful questions. Let's talk about offline for a sec, because I've been talking a lot about online, and we'll get back to online. But with offline, there is so many, there is a plethora of offline community groups and events that are out there,
Mhm.
especially if you live by a some type of hub. I might be biased, but I'm in the San Francisco area. I'm in the AI space.
Mhm.
So for me, I'm like addicted to Luma and these other email lists that are free. That's the best part. To find out about these groups, it's just about finding it's for free. Also, I'm basically using online distribution to find
Mhm.
offline opportunities. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So I think groups like Luma, Meetup, if you want to do more hobbyist stuff like hiking and vocational, um, Toastmasters, which is one of my favorite groups. I have nothing but love for the people in Toastmasters. It's another great vocational interest group. These are all examples of online channels that you can identify and just go find it. The other thing too is don't look at different groups. You don't have to like fall in love with one. If you need to check out multiple things, that's fine.
Mhm.
But I feel nowadays with all these different interests and again, going back to are you a leader or an executive? Are you a specific professional like go to market or designer? Or you're looking for like a fun group like hiking or Toastmasters? Or you're looking to join like a cause that's like more about the bigger picture thinking like an AI collective? Um, Using Luma and these other tools I mentioned are easy ways to find it.
Hmm. Hmm. Yep, absolutely. We are big fans of Luma as well. And as you said, a lot of this is free, which is great. But Ash, there's also this perception that in-person meetups are more sticky, and so communities that are able to meet in person last longer or build better bonds. What has your experience been? Why do you think people keep coming back?
Yeah, I actually agree with that statement. And I'm not here to tell you that online communities don't work. I've seen them work very well. In another lifetime, I was on the community team for one of the largest high net worth online groups called Long Angle, which is a
Mhm.
private invite only group for high net worth individuals. And I believe the group is now between 6 to 7,000 members. And they taught me a lot because majority of the conversations, it's a private closed community because of the types of things that people in the HNW space deal with. I saw conversations that you can't talk about publicly or kind of sensitive, confidential, vulnerable, all those things. But what they did very well, and they still do very well, is they build the community online. It's like an internal Slack channel type of interface. But then niche groups based on geography and interest will meet up in person. So I think that is why it taught me a lot because no matter how big a community like Long Angle scales or a big group like AI Collective, which is on a larger level, but it's more macro scales,
Yeah.
you need the in person because let's be real, we're all at our computers all day. We're all using these tools. We're all on LinkedIn. We're all on YouTube. We're all using Slack. We're all, doing these kinds of conversations, which are amazing. But there's something about wanting to meet with people. This is more
Mhm.
of a human connection thing. And that's another reason why, and maybe it's partly because of post-COVID, but I've noticed there's a demand for in-person type of groups and settings due to that.
Yeah. Well, your note takers cannot join you in person. So that's another positive because
Fair enough. Yeah, yeah.
there's so many folks that would want to come back and listen to things, and nothing wrong with that. But there's something about being able to have a real conversation face to face. So yeah,
Yep.
fantastic. Um, so we're talking about skills that AI cannot replace, and I suppose your the big picture answer is build communities, make connections, use that as an accelerator for you to grow and for your company to grow. Can you talk about personal branding within these communities? Because there are some that are very good at doing that, to the extent of sounding like they're self-promoting, but there are some that are not. So, how does someone go about building a personal brand without really feeling like they're self-promoting or trying too hard?
Yes, it goes back to those tenets I shared earlier, being helpful, being vulnerable, being real. I think those are the three tenets. And let me give you some background. And not to flex, but I just because it's very easy for someone just to spew personal brand advice. I actually have a LinkedIn course on personal brands, on how to build a personal brand as an executive. And why I bring this up is because it gave me the ability to do interviews with hundreds of executives and hundreds of individuals who had very prominent personal brands. And it was a lot of that data helped me do this course. And
Mhm.
those three tenets are what I learned. And those three tenets are what I really believe in. Being helpful. So going back to that community group, you join a group and you're like, hey, um, I'm a go-to marketing expert. Instead of saying I'm looking for work or this is why I'm so good, you just say I'm a go-to marketing expert. If anyone needs any advice on scaling their startup, let me know. Or if someone asks a question and they're like, I'm looking to talk to someone who understands go-to-market, you can gently flex and say, look, I'm a go-to-market expert. I've worked with, startups for 10 plus years or high growth organizations. Here's my take on it. The
Yeah.
other thing too is the vulnerability part. I'm seeing a big wave of people letting go of the makeup, letting go of the veil, letting go of the stage and just being real. Just saying, look, it's tough doing this, but here's how I overcame it. People like those inspiring stories. Those are the things that make your personal brand not seem self-promotion and seem like you're helpful and real and vulnerable.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I do think, as you said, post-COVID, it has gone up the number of communities and number of opportunities we have to connect with people. Um, I I wanted to ask the audience, and if you guys are part of some community, can you put that in the chat? What communities are you part of? And do you feel like you're a community member or are you a community leader? How are you currently leveraging the communities that you're a part of for growth? And I'm curious if those responses, you guys have the same experience as what Ash shared with us. Or if you want to come off mute and talk to us, that works as well. Any volunteers? All right. All right. Go ahead and put your responses in the chat and we can come back to that. Ash, so to keep this going, right? So if you had to bet on one skill and being part of a community is an action, and I'm sure that requires some skills. So if you had to bet on one skill that every person must master to kind of remain relevant, what do you think it is and why?
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually go back to taste. I actually having and taste is a unique perspective. We all have it. So being able to show a unique view, a unique aspect of yourself, at least to a group, will make you stand out. I've seen this time and time again. People don't want a certain type of person. They want someone who has the skill sets. And this
Mm-hmm.
isn't anything. Collaborating with someone, hiring someone, being asked to lead a team, being asked to be helpful or an advisor, you name it. It all comes back to, yes, the skills is the check. It's like, okay, they fit they have the required skills, they have the relevant experience, but what's different about them? Do they see the world in a unique way? And that comes from taste. That comes from being cultured again. That comes from really standing out in the world of things. That I feel is those are the people that are really there. The other thing too, along those lines, is it's being indispensable. It's this day and age, outside of productivity and taste, being someone that is accountable, that you can count on, goes a long way. I've seen so many executives get roles that one might say, how did they get that role versus others who are more stacked? It's because of the fact that they're accountable. They can do the work when you need them to do. You can count on them. They're not like wishy-washy, or they don't have the egoic, high ego personal brand that gets in the way. But yeah, I think those are some of the things that one skill. Or if I had to focus on one of those three, accountability, being accountable.
Being accountable. Great. Yeah. I mean, I think that has to be something that has worked before and will continue to work no matter how technology evolves, right?
Yeah, for
So that's
sure.
fantastic. I see some responses in the chat for the kind of communities people are part of. It seems like a healthy mix of social communities, but also tech-focused, AI-focused communities. Charities, Manju, that's a good one. So
Oh, by the way, I love talking about charities. We haven't actually talked. Could I share something about that?
no, not yet. Go ahead.
Okay. Um, uh, Charities are one of the best ways to build meaningful friendships because I feel with charities and nonprofits, specifically nonprofits, which charities fall under, um,
Mhm.
you get to work with people from all walks of life, and it's like such a feel good community opportunity. If you're in a place in your life where you want some like inspiration, or if you want something just to build that taste that I'm talking about, join a nonprofit that's of interest to you, join a cause. For me, for instance, I love libraries. I've had the privilege of being on the board of a library trustee. I was a library trustee for a little time, and it was so fun to interact with like all these other interesting people to come up
Mhm.
with policies, literature programs, things that can help build the future of libraries. You find your thing, I promise you it's going to be a journey of fun and fulfillment. It's such a great group. I love nonprofits. That's a great community membership type of angle.
Was that more in person, Ash, or is that an online
No,
event?
my library board, the trustee work that I did was in person. And which was really meaningful because we met at the library. I got to watch the programs that we helped. Because basically, a trustee, you vote on funding, you basically oversee the budgets. And so you get to see the programs that you voted on as a board, and the sponsorships and all these proposals come into fruition. It's such a beautiful, I don't know, I get such a high on life when I think of libraries. But for you that might be something else, so find that thing if you have the time. I highly recommend nonprofits. It's a great
Mhm.
time to get back.
Yep. So if you have to bring all of this together, what would you say? How would you kind of summarize everything we've discussed about working on these soft skills, working on skills that are required to thrive, that are outside of your technology skills? How do you bring it all together?
Wow. I think, how do you bring it all together? I think A, be helpful.
Hmm.
See, everything I've been sharing, whether it's being vulnerable, which is giving perspective that someone else can get insight from, or sharing a problem that you have, you're in a way being helpful, or offering to help someone else, or joining a cause where you can give back, or finding a group that's aligned with you, joining, just being helpful is, I think, the thing that makes you stand out in a community, and not having expectations. Just enjoy the ride. Good things will come to you if the more you put into something. I really feel that way, especially with community groups. I've seen them all, online, offline. That's like the one antidote I can honestly tell you will happen.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we did an exercise, I don't know how many of you all are Sidebar members and you're not, but when we became part of Sidebar, there was this values exercise that we did. And one of the values of the community is to be a go-giver. And they did not have to explain to us what it means because we experienced it with how the community members showed up. They genuinely go out there to help each other with no expectation in real. So that was fantastic to see it demonstrated. Manju, if you don't mind, I'd love to ask you to come off mute and pose the question that you've put in the chat because I think you have something really cool to say.
Hey, thank you, Sue. Yeah, no, so I've been thinking about this in the discussions, outside of the executive community that we have here. And when you talk to common man, common people, even, mostly now, finally, it is hitting this automation and all of those changes, improvements in technology, which was taking away jobs. It's hitting white collar workers also now. So it's become much more critical, right? So the issue is, why is there a fear of technology? It is not because they are really worried about technology per se, but it's about the lack of systemic support for what happens when they lose their jobs. So what happens is that they are losing healthcare, income, even social legitimacy, all of that in this country when compared to, say, in Sweden, where what they do is, if the system protects the workers, not the jobs. So there is transition plan, preparation in training them, enabling them when technology comes and takes over certain jobs. The workers are then, shifted in and healthcare is already provided. That's not the case in this country, and that's very, very critical because this is a community of leaders. I wanted us to think about that. The
Hmm.
more we think about when it is human centered, we have to think about the humans around us, not just about our productivity. It has to extend way beyond that. That's the point I wanted to make.
Yeah, Manji, that's a very good question, and thank you for. So this is a great example. These are honest, real. You're sharing a level of vulnerability in a sense, maybe not yourself, but just the pain that you're seeing of being people you know or people that you're reading about. I'm just making an assumption, and I could be wrong here. So I thank you for that. I think look, with this group, obviously, I am like pro AI, productivity. Everything is, going to help you make your life better if you use AI the right way. But of course, when you're with groups who feel that AI is going to displace them, then there's the conversation changes. And I don't have a solution, obviously. I don't have this is something that's so significantly large in terms of a conversation, in terms of amount of people being potentially impacted. But I would say though that with AI, and there is data to support this, that in the next 5 to 10 years, there is going to be a plethora, sorry, of what you call blue collar jobs where people can get trained and can, or their skills could be transferred into doing these things. Like for instance, right now, you could learn with certifications to become an electrician, or because why? There's going to be data centers. Or if you could learn how to work in factories and learn how to work on the remote technologies that will be managing the robots. Because yes, robots, for instance, will be taking over these factories. Or there's certain fields, no matter how huge AI gets, they're still human centric. For instance, I call it the care economy, like elder managing the elderly, mental health support, therapy, nursing, home health. And again, I already talked about the skilled trades like electricians, plumbers. These are all skills which, because of AI, are going to be needed more in terms of in-person roles. And for the people who are still infected, then yeah, that is a government policy type of thing. And I'm hoping that many of us here who have some influence and in a positive way can talk to leaders and the civic world to make those changes. But I'm hopeful. I believe in our country. I believe in the way the world AI is going. I think people are gonna. I think there will be solutions at the end. That's just me being an optimist. I do feel that way, but hopefully, yes, hopefully I'm right. But good question,
We, we,
Manju.
I
we
got,
have to be
yeah.
optimistic. The only point is the pace at which it's moving with AI. It's instead of decades for change, it is maybe years or months.
Yeah.
That's there too, something to consider. Yep.
Thank you, Manju.
I could,
Patrick, I see you. Yep, go
yeah,
ahead.
thank you. I got here a couple minutes late, so I couldn't get into the chat. So I thought I'd jump into the conversation. So thank you.
Sure.
A couple of things. One is I attended a presentation sometime a while ago from Allianz, the insurance company, and they have set a good model for how to do this because they recognize that AI would improve productivity. They did three things fundamentally I think were very helpful. One, they really made sure that their own data was secure.
Mhm.
Secondly, they made certain that their customers' data was secure. And the third thing was they actually provided a lot of education and training, retraining for their employees, particularly the analysts, so they could have by learning new skills, they would have roles in the future of the company. So that was a big thing. The flip side of that is I also had an interview recently with a radiologist who essentially said 5 years from now, there are only going to be a smattering of radiologists in the world because all of it is going to be automated. All of it is, and he talked about how AI makes the diagnoses much, much better. So there'll be a
Mhm.
few people who have to see things. So there's a lot of in and a lot of out, is what I would say. But Ash, the question I have for you is um, there's AI, the technology. But then there are the people who are the leaders of the organization who are responsible for engaging the attention of folks, getting people to accept and adopt it, helping people to work through their fears and such. Um, what do you think good leadership needs to do to facilitate people embracing, accepting, using AI? I know that's a big question, but just from your own experience, I have a
No,
few
it's a
opinions about it, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, Patrick, this is a great question. I actually think it goes back to the earlier questions that Sylvia had asked me about what should people look at when using AI?
Hmm.
And ask yourself, okay, this can make you more productive. Can this realize that AI can now allow you to work on the things that matter and the things that normally would take up too much brain suck, energy suck, or mundane tasks or data entry type tasks? AI can help to a certain degree. So that allows you to be not just more productive, but also allows you to do what I really still believe in, that meaningful work thing. If the things aren't allowing you to do more meaningful work, then it's not a good idea to incorporate those tools. That's the kind of clear-cut answer I would give you. And the other
Hmm.
thing too, as a leader, is you have to instill this idea that AI is this whole idea of AI replacing your jobs. You have to, I believe it can enhance your job. And I believe,
Hmm.
so using that radiologist example, I actually agree with you. China right now, it's amazing what they're doing with these hospitals that I've been reading about, how you can now get these self-diagnostics with these AI machines. And think about those people now, you still need people to run those systems. You still need people to help create those systems. There are transferable skill sets. I'm not a doctor, but I've got to assume that if someone with a medical degree, there are transferable skill sets that you can apply just because your current job isn't, might be replaced to a certain degree. But those are the kind of conversations I would have or I would
Yeah.
recommend.
Yeah. Last thing I'll just say, the radiologist was very candid. I actually asked him, and I said, so if you have a teenager who's thinking about becoming a physician, would you suggest they become a radiologist? His straightforward answer is, oh no, I would send them somewhere else. It's not a good place to go. So anyway, but for the technical support and other, for the engineering and the software that supports the technology, yes, there's opportunity for physicians of other kinds where you have to there's a kind of radiology called interventionists where you actually are interacting with patients, but for most people, don't go there. So
Yeah.
anyway, thank you.
No, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Kim, I see you have a question. Thank you for your patience. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So you've talked a lot about authenticity and building community, and you've talked about in-person. in-person community building,
Mhm.
being able to build stronger bonds. I am curious because something that I find with a lot of Gen AI models is there's a lot of advice or perhaps recommendations that, in my opinion, is a lot more performance driven. It's telling individuals what to do in order to solve a problem or present themselves in a certain way. But for me, it just comes across as perhaps more performance and performative than true authenticity. So, what
Mhm.
would your recommendations be in using Gen AI
Yeah.
and LLMs to help an individual truly become that authentic, more real version of themselves versus performing and perhaps regurgitating a variation framework of a story that gives them a certain that gives off a certain perception, but really isn't their authentic self
No, that's a
in
great
building
question, Kim.
communities.
Yeah, that's a great question, Kim. I actually have I have I have in the past and sometimes still struggle with what you're saying. If I had to recommend one AI specific skill set, because we've been talking about leadership and interpersonal communication skill sets like building community, be authentic, and things of that sort, I would take a course or buy a book or go on YouTube and learn how to become better at prompting. Because with prompting is the questions you ingest into these LLMs, like which are, whether it's Claude, OpenAI, X, whatever you use for your or Gemini, et cetera, et cetera. The more you learn how to become better at prompting, the better detailed questions you get. So very simple example. I want a research report on the automotive industry. Okay, you'll get a generic report. I'm a analyst for a Fortune 500 company who has a budget of $50 million, and this report is going to be sent to five VPs, and these are their roles. These are their LinkedIn's if you are able to share it. Can you please give me a report listing these five items that meaningful and provide a conclusive email summarization? That is an example of getting better at prompting. The better you can become at prompting, and it's not something you can just start practicing. There's actual courses for this. I actually took a course and I have no affiliation with them. I just took it. U of A has a prompting course. It was like this 5 week online course, which is pre-recorded, but it gave you all these prompting exercises. I know there's YouTube courses too, but I'm gonna give my email after this. So please email me if you want to know the prompting course I took, but it changed the way I looked at prompting and it made me very much better at prompting and it helped me address the things that you are talking about. But great question.
What I think I'm hearing also is when you design a prompt, there's an opportunity to give it contextual information about you as a user, as the prompter.
Yes.
And it sounds like there's the opportunity within that prompt to provide some specificity around who I am, what my goals are, what I value, what I'm essentially representing and know about myself as an identity in order to be able to work with the model in order for it to create an output that is much more designed around me as a persona so that it helps to take that into consideration. So that way it's not just giving me this aggregated, generalized piece of what I should be doing as an action plan, but it gives me more so advice or recommendations on what I could be doing that is designed much more in alignment with who I am as an individual. Ideally, we would know some of that, or at least believe we know some of that in order to design the prompt first, though. So it sounds like even before the prompt, there's a little bit of self reflection, self understanding,
Yes.
our own identity and labels that we want to make sure that we include in that designed prompt as well, right?
100%.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep. Thank you, Kim. Folks, before I ask Ash to share all of the goodies that he has for us, the links, I want to share my screen so you guys can scan the QR code. I also dropped it in the chat. We are all technology product folks and we deeply believe in NPS. So please take a minute to respond to this so we can curate better sessions, similar sessions, and this will be extremely helpful for Ash as well, for him to understand how the session was, and what are you guys walking away with. Ash, while folks are doing that, if you want to share I think at the beginning you said you would share links to Lightfield and a couple
Yeah.
other resources.
Yes. So I think the easiest thing, because I've referenced several things, I'm going to put my email in the chat box. It's ash@lightfield.app. So
Mhm.
ash@lightfield.app. If you are interested, I can get you a free for several months to use Lightfield. It's an AI native CRM. I promise you, you will find some value with it. I pretty much joined the company because I was a user and I had to join it. I really feel it's on this part of this productivity opportunity. I sincerely believe it. And try it out as a free product. I will also, if you send me the email, I'll send you a link to the
Yeah,
prompting course that I took. It's a little too much to
sure.
type here, but I will send you a link to the Lightfield special and the prompting course. So it's just ash@lightfield.app. And please share my
Yeah.
email to everyone. And you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to message you there as well if you feel comfortable that way instead of email. It's just Ash, Kumra. I think I'm the only one on LinkedIn.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Ash. Thank you, everybody, for being on the call today, for participating and listening in. We'll come back with more sessions, but if you have any suggestions, recommendations for what kind of content you want to see more, then please take that survey and drop your comments there. Ash, thanks again for presenting to the Sidebar community and all of the affiliates. I really appreciate you being here and sharing your perspective and wisdom with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great day. Bye.